Hi, I'm Victoria Albee. Today I'm going to talk to y'all about what feminism is. So, the extreme idea of feminism came about in 1968 when some radical women had a demonstration outside of the Miss America pageant in Atlantic City. So, they had these things called freedom trash cans. And these trash cans were for women to throw away all symbols of female oppression, so bras and girdles and makeup, etc. And this was happening outside of the pageant, which the reason why they did this was because this pageant is to glorify the values of women in such the beauty and gracefulness and what it seemed that women were only kind of good for at that time. And so the media called this bra burning, this demonstration bra burning. And so that's where that term came from. And so from this, some people got the idea of feminism to be this sort of extreme demonstration, which is not what it is. Feminism is the equal political, social, and economic rights of the sexes, not the hatred of men, not the bra burning, etc. So some of the main things that we're going to talk about today is where and how it began, some terms, so the history of it, some common misconceptions, so what people tend to think when they hear the word feminism versus what it really is, and today's modern feminism. So let's begin with the history. So there's 3 waves of the feminist movement, and the first wave was the 19th and early 20th centuries. And this wave was solely about women's right to vote, and so suffrage. So in 1848, the long 70-year battle began for our right to vote. And finally, in 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified and gave women the right to vote. So the second wave was in the 1960s and 1970s. And this refers to the legal and social rights for women that were fought for. So in 1963, Betty Friedan published a book called The Feminine Mystique. And she spoke of feminism as a problem that has no name. So in this book, she questions and asks, is this all there is? And by that she means, is this all there is for women to do? To dress up and look pretty all day, every day, to have dinner ready when husband comes home, to drive kids to all their daily activities, to clean the house, to fall into these traditional gender roles and not break out. And so a new feminist movement was born after this book. And within 3 years, an activist group was formed called the National Organization for Women. So it's dedicated to full participation of women in mainstream American society. Within the same time period, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was created. And so this act, originally it was to prohibit discrimination in employment based on race. But some conservative congressmen added gender to the mix because they figured that it wouldn't be passed. But it was. So this act includes prohibiting discrimination in the workplace against race, or because of race and because of gender. So this was a huge stride in feminist movement. So the third wave is the 1990s to the present, and that refers to the continuation of the equality and finding more rights for women. And we'll talk more about that towards the end. So the feminist movement has had many positive effects in the Western society. So it gave women the right to vote. It gave us greater access to education. It gave us more nearly equitable pay with men, not exactly, but more nearly. The right to initiate divorce, right of women to make individual decisions regarding pregnancy, and the right to own property. So with more knowledge on the background and the history of feminism, we're going to go into common misconceptions. So misandry is the dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against men. So this is a common misconception that women hate men, or that feminists hate men, excuse me. So when feminists say that they hate patriarchy, that does not mean they hate men. So what patriarchy is a government controlled by men or a group of men, by man or a group of men. And so, but patriarchy is not equivalent to men. Feminists want to get rid of the patriarchy, and it's simply about the gender inequality within it. So matriarchy is another common misconception, that feminists want women to have power over men. And so studentsforliberty.org said this very well. There's no reason to tear men down in order to bring women up. And it's not to switch the power, but to erase the imbalance. So we don't want women to have all the power or men to have all the power. It's not about either one having the most power. It's about equality within it. Another misconception is that feminism only helps women. So it helps men too. It allows men to not feel wimpy when reporting rape. It allows men to show emotion without questioning their masculinity. And it includes standing with individuals outside of the gender binary. So although some women do hold these statements to be true, I can say that as a feminist, I do not believe in matriarchy. I do not believe in misandry. I do not believe that this is not for men. And many other feminists believe that as well. So now I'll explain further what feminism is like in the modern day and age. It's more focused on the pay gap at this point. So in 2013, full-time female workers made 78 cents to every male dollar. So that's 22% wage gap. And this is according to the Institute for Women's Policy Research. And they track the gender wage gap in a number of fact sheets. And they update them twice a year. So women have almost half the workforce, which is awesome. And women have, although made progress in the workforce by integration into predominantly male careers, except for construction and in some careers like that, which the integration hasn't changed in 40 years. So with all this being said, let's summarize. So feminism is simply equal rights for the sexes. G.D. Anderson said, "Feminism isn't about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives that strength." Thank you for giving me your time, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you so much.